You cannot get out! I can now!
Hey everybody, Ringingworm here again with another Transformers review. This one's a little different because I don't know if it's licensed or not, but I know they don't call it what it is. So this is the Ft-10 from Fanstoys-10 Phoenix, also known as SkyFire or Jetfire, depending on which version of the Transformers that you're going off of. And I picked this up at Salt Lake Comic-Con, and I'm pretty excited to show you today, but it is by far the largest figure in my collection. Now, the biggest thing about this figure is there's a company out there called Fanstoys, and right now they make really good, really high-quality Transformers that even compared to the Masterpiece Transformers, in a lot of ways, they're better. And one of the specific ways that they're better when they make these toys is they use a lot of die cast in them. And if you don't know what die cast is, back in the 80s when Transformers were first out, they had metal components to them that were molded metal pieces. The original Optimus Prime's chest piece, for example, was made out of die cast metal. And it's something that a lot of the figures don't actually do. Even a lot of Hot Toys are doing die cast now in like the Iron Man figures and that type stuff. So it gives it a lot more, a lot more of an authentic feel, and it makes them, in my opinion, a lot higher quality as far as the materials used in them. So Fanstoys goes out of their way, and I'm going to be buying all my Dinobot or Iron Die Bots as they call them through Fanstoys because I think the scale is better. But again, it goes back to that die cast that they use in the figures. So this particular figure, you know, we talk about things from our childhood, and I don't know how many times SkyFire was actually in, or Phoenix here was in the cartoon, but he was in it enough that it was one of my favorite characters from the Transformers. First of all, it was the first Autobot jet in the cartoon. And second of all, he's absolutely massive compared to the other Transformers, and I really, really like that. And the Transformers were big anyway, but because SkyFire here is supposed to be more of a troop transport for the Transformers, he is just absolutely massive. So I'm going to show you on scale with some of the other figures, but you know, and hopefully I'll be able to keep in frame as best I can, because the hardest part is I've had to move my camera a little bit to get a better angle so I can transform him and show him, which is going to make it harder for me to see what I'm doing in the camera. And as you guys all know, I already have a hard time keeping it in the camera as it is. But really, really happy to have this figure. Out of all the figures I was looking at Comic-Con, this is the one I wanted the most. It was hard because it was expensive, but I don't see how you could ever not have something from your childhood as cool as this particular figure not in it. So I went ahead and pulled the trigger and got the figure. But it just is super, super cool, and I'm really, really happy to have it in this collection. So what I'm going to do really quick is I'm going to just show you again what he looks like next to his G1 counterpart, and then we'll take the video from there. Okay guys, so here is the G1 figure of SkyFire. He's also called Jetfire. Now, I don't know all the terminology, so if I don't tell you it perfectly, please don't hate me forever or whatever. I'm just giving you the best information that I can remember. But I talked a little bit earlier about this particular, in one of my other videos, this particular figure being part of the Robotech line. Now, Robotech back east in Japan or China or whatever, the company that made its toys went bankrupt, and the company that ended up making the Transformers bought that mold. So when it came over to the United States, the Transformers was based almost solely on it was based almost solely on a toy line, and then they made the cartoon around that. So the company that owned this particular figure brought that over to the United States. So SkyFire was introduced from the toy line with this particular mold. And then we did the cartoon, and the cartoon used the SkyFire mold, which is the one that you see behind the G1 toy. And then the comic book kind of used both, depending on which comic book you read. Now, I didn't read a lot of comics when I was a kid, at least not Marvel Comics, which own the rights to these particular figures. But anyway, because of the legality of SkyFire, he wasn't in it a lot. He really wasn't. And they only used him, I think, in 6 total episodes, maybe more than that, but not very many more than that. And eventually, Robotech came over to the United States as a cartoon, and they really stopped using the SkyFire mold altogether. Now, I'm gonna grab really quick two of my Veritechs, and I'll show you what I'm talking about really quick. Okay, so you can see my figures right here on the left of the screen that are the Robotech line. So these are Robotech Anniversary collectibles, and I have them transformed in 2 different ones. So I have Roy Folker's Veritech, which is Skull 1, and then I also have Rick Hunter's Veritech from the cartoon. And as you can see, the mold is almost identical to Jetfire. I can even take Jetfire here and really transform him pretty simply. Try to keep him in camera as best I can. Now, this is broken a little bit. Like I said, I didn't take really good care of him, so please bear with me. But it transforms pretty simply. But I just want to show you what I mean by this is truly not a transformer as much as it is a Robotech. Sorry, there I took it off camera so I get a better hold on it. And I'm not going to get really uber detailed on the transformation, but you literally just put him in his mold here. And you can see that he's basically the Skull 1 Veritech, at least the way I have him transformed. And that's what you had. So you didn't have a lot of SkyFire in the mold. I did like Robotech, so it was kind of nice to have both Jetfire and that, but that's what I ended up with. Okay, so I just wanted to show you those figures, like because it kind of gives you a little bit more history on the different figures. Now, I loved Robotech because it was something that a person could pilot, and I love also Transformers. So SkyFire to me was different, and that G1 toy that I just showed you, that's what you had to buy if you wanted SkyFire in the 80s. That's what you had to buy in the 90s, that's what you had to buy in the early 2000s, and then Fantoys put this together. So this isn't a Masterpiece Transformer, but it is in scale with the Masterpiece because Fanstoys wants to make sure that when you're buying these figures that you're getting something that you can display with the rest of your characters and whatnot. And to me, that's really cool, and they do really do a good job. Now, again, they're not licensed, so they can't call them Transformers, and they can't call them what their real name is, but they can do this reproduction and show you because they don't have the license agreement. And so this is a little bit different than the last one with Smokescreen that I showed you guys, because Smokescreen was somebody had took the mold from the Masterpiece Takara line and made another Smokescreen. This is 100% made by Fanstoys. This is not a stolen mold. Masterpiece from Takara has not made this line at all. So what you're getting right now is a true reproduction from Fanstoys, not from anything else. So really quick, he doesn't come with a lot. He comes basically with his weapon, and he comes with his book of instructions here, and that's about it. And his instructions are pretty easy to follow, but even his instructions are different than the Masterpiece instructions, and as you can see here. Now he comes with this extra chest piece thing right here, and I think a lot of fans are suspecting that that has to do with the cartoon, because his first appearance in the cartoon, he was a Decepticon. He didn't really know any better, but that's what he wore the Decepticon logo, so that's why that's there. Now you can switch that out with his chest piece. I have an Autobot logo on with him. Anyway, when you look at the transformation, it's showing pictures, not a cartoon diagram of how to transform. He's actually pretty simple to transform. He's just really, really bulky, and there's a lot of pieces that snap in that you just have to get lined up perfectly right and whatnot. So this is the Fanstoys Phoenix, and it gives you an example. Like, it does not come with this base at all. It only comes with the adapter part on the top, and they're saying that that's coming from the Fanstoys version of Swoop, and I don't have that one, so hopefully eventually maybe I will. And it also shows you where you can store his cannon in the back, which I'm not going to do because I don't remember ever seeing his cannon displayed like that in the cartoon. So I'm going to get his box out of the way, and then we're going to start into the transformation here. So this is Jetfire, and as you can see how big he is, I mean, just massive. And I'm turning him on his side, and you can't even get all of his wings in his picture. Now, he's over 15 inches tall, and he weighs over 3 pounds. So that gives you another example of how much on. Now, compared to the other ones, he's really not that expensive compared to like the Masterpiece Transformers. He's not that much more expensive. If anything, he's on par with as expensive as they are. So really quick, he's got die cast down here in his wheels. Right here in his flaps, he's got die cast right here up top. His little window or cockpit, so to speak, does open. Unfortunately, one thing I wish that Fantoys would have done was made it to where Spike, or I mean, they do fit in this area, but you can't close the canopy because there's no place for their legs to go in here. That's one thing I wish that they would have done, is made it a little bit more hollow in there. I don't know if they could have done that because of how he transforms, but I would have loved to have set Spike or Daniel or one of those characters in there just for the sake of seeing them in his cockpit. You got this translucent blue, which is really nice. Up top, this doesn't open at all. It does pop up, but it doesn't open, and there's no. It's just translucent, so you can see inside of it, and that's really all there is to it. There's nothing spectacular about it. But anyway, it's a really great figure. I love the details. There's just little things on it that I'll try to show you that I love. But ultimately, I love it just because it looks like SkyFire. I mean, I know it's Phoenix, but it looks like SkyFire. And to me, that's the coolest part of all. So I'm going to try to stay in camera as best I can. You're just going to have to bear with me. Ultimately, I'll show you what he looks like transformed and whatnot. So I'm going to start with his wings right here. You can see his wings. He's got, they do move up and down, which is really cool, part of his transformation. But the easiest part is, I just like to get the wings out of the way, is if you see right here, these just fold underneath, and it makes them a little bit more streamlined. This pops out and then folds under. Or maybe I'm doing it backwards. And it folds up like that, because that's how it's going to be to the back side of his figure, and it'll ultimately be like that. So I'm just going to get these out of the way really fast, just so you can see that, because once he gets up to his full top mode. So these little parts just fold under. You can see like that, pretty securely. That folds up like that, and that goes in. Now, one thing I've seen on some of the other videos people don't like is these just fold down. Some people like, you can switch them to where they crisscross up there. I don't mind them like that, so I'm just going to leave them like that. But this little piece right here tabs into this top piece in 4 spots, and it does it for a reason, because this is going to accordion down. You can kind of see those 4 tabs there. Now, this is really cool, which I like because it's an added touch. This is where his rocket pack, or his thrusters and stuff go. This just lifts up, and then this goes down like so, and then that goes back in like that. So it's kind of like an accordion kind of situation, just up, down. Pretty simple, not too complicated. Now, I'm going to lift this thing up right here because it's locked into place in a couple spots. Okay, so again, just like that top piece, it's his backpack, so to speak. So this, if you can see right here, slides in like so. So now it just got smaller, and as you can see, there's 4 spots right there. So when this goes back down, which you can do right now because it's not going to hinder anything, it just tabs back into place. So he still has his backpack. It gets bigger, which I like, is really out of touch. His little jetpack here on his back just becomes a little bit smaller than it was just a few seconds ago. So that is like as simple as it gets. Now, the next part is also pretty simple. I'm going to transform his leg. So again, I'm going to try to keep it on camera as best I can, but it's really difficult because of the size of the figure. So I'm going to rotate this around, and his wheels just tuck right in. And like I said, these are die cast right here, which I really love. This is die cast, this is die cast, and it's really cool. So this just flips up, flips down, and that's pretty easy. That's going to flip up because this has to come out ultimately for the transformation. But right now we're not quite to that part. Now, right here, his legs are tabbed into this little flap right here on both sides. And you're just going to pull them out, essentially. And they're tight. Okay, and so his hips came down as well. And then you're going to pull this down. There's a little tab on the back, but it doesn't really do much good for you. And his leg just comes down like so. Pretty easy. You just have to kind of work it. You don't want to pull too hard. In fact, I'm going to show that a little bit better. Okay, so just really quick, you can see the tab right there that goes into his leg, and he comes down pretty firmly and snaps into place. And you heard that loud click noise. That's not necessarily anything to worry about. He clicks like that because it's locking into place. So this is now, in order to get it unlocked, you see this little silver tab right here. This is die cast as well. I have to push that in and then push it up to get it to change out. So I'm going to change position really quick, and then I'm going to continue. Okay, so all I did was I changed the height of the camera a little bit, so it's a little bit easier to see when I'm done. Now, really quick, I just want to show you the background that you can see is, it's not actually supposed to be displayed like that. I just did that so you can't see any of my junk in the back because I got some Superman pictures, which is really not relevant to this video. But anyway, it's just literally sitting on top of each other, and it sits on there pretty seamlessly and whatnot. So it gives you some options for displaying it in your home, and that's what I'm going to do permanently. And I'll show that at the end of my Optimus Prime video, because that's the last one I'm going to do before we get going. Anyway, so just wanted to change my angle a little bit so I can lift him up and you can see a little bit better. Now this part, like right here, just came down because it locks into place up here. So if you look in here, it's got 2 tabs. So when you transform it like this, it locks into that bottom tab. And then when you transform him back into his robot mode, he just tabs into place like so. And that is really easy to do. I mean, that took all a couple seconds. Now his feet here are a little bit tricky because you don't necessarily understand how they've got his feet set up in here. But basically the top of his foot is right here, and you have to get that, or excuse me, anyway, the way he's tucked in here is really difficult to get out. I'm going to see if I've got a little tool here that can help me. Oh, figures that I don't have things ready when ready. All right, I'll be right back. Okay, like I said, this figure's so much bigger that I forget what I need sometimes when I'm transforming it. But anyway, you just kind of need to get this part out that's right here, and this will roll down. Oops, let's see if you can see that. So this just rolls down pretty easily, but you've got to get this kind. So this piece right here is the back of his foot. So if you can, like I said, his foot is more complicated than some of the other parts of his transformation. It really is, and I don't understand why, but I mean, it is so tight, it's not even funny. So I just have my pair of tweezers here, so I'm going to pull that down, and then his foot right here comes up, exposing kind of a little jet on the bottom. Just tab that back into place like so. And then the same thing on this side, so I'm just going to use this because my fingernails aren't very long, and it's just easier that way. So I've got some, sorry. Again, I apologize. The size of this thing just makes it hard to know where you're at on the transformation. So the easiest thing to do is to roll this out as best you can, and then when you're separating it, you're just pulling up. See, that one came out a lot easier than the other one. Uh-oh, I might lose my display here on the back because I just hit it with the with Phoenix here. So anyway, oh, and I knocked his back wings off, so I'll fix that here in a second. Now, as you can see, he can stand up without being fully transformed, and even the weight of everything else, he can still stand up just like that. So let me fix my set and I'll be right back. All right, there, I fixed it, at least temporarily. Anyway, these little pieces from his wings come off really easy, so don't worry about breaking them. I think they're made to come off pretty easily, and I'll put those back on here in a second. So that's basically his lower half, and it transforms very easily. And there's not a lot to it. Now the top part is really simple as well. I'll just turn it around so you can kind of see the side. Now his head's just right here, and that flips up really well. This just flips up really well. This tucks in pretty easily, and we'll just go it step by step, at least how I do it. I'm not necessarily following the order of the instructions. So this piece right here just needs to come out. Now the easiest way to do it is just to pull, maybe, because it is wedged in there really tightly. If you can get a pair of tweezers or something in there, as you can see, now that just comes up. Now, let's see if you can see. Probably not. Let's see if I can raise this up a little bit higher. Yep, I definitely can. Alright, so you can see this piece right here was attached just like this, and all I did was pull it out. It's got these four little tabs underneath, and they are in securely into his arm. Now this piece just rolls underneath like so. This folds up and down like that pretty securely, and then that folds up like so. Pretty simple. I can't remember exactly. I'll get to it. Anyway, this nose up here also just folds down really easily, just like so. And you're not going to see a lot of that after the transformation either. So really quick, his chest piece, which is also right here, you can fold these out like so. And then you can see right here the die cast right here, these metal pieces. These are really cool, and I like them a lot because they just kind of, oh, I gotta do one more thing here. Just kind of loosen it up top here so you can get your hands on it. But anyway, this just slides out really smoothly. It's very firm. Going back to die cast, it's very firm. Maybe I shouldn't have done that. Maybe I should have left those in. Anyway, when you're transforming them, these just come around just like so. And that's pretty easy. I mean, there's not a lot of complication there. This, however, just kind of folds up and down like that. And I think, yeah, like that. So that just kind of goes like that. I gotta think for a second if that's right. Pretty sure it is. Anyway, so his arms, as you can see up here, just kind of come up and down. Again, up and down. His body basically just comes like that. And it's not snapped in or anything like that. I haven't gotten to that part yet. Now this is a little bit more complicated. These little pieces come up and down, and they have to tab into his chest piece. So what you're going to do is you're going to slide his chest piece in like so. This piece right here that I showed you a second ago, in fact, I'm going to pull that back out. This just snaps back into place like that. And then when you're coming down, it creates this kind of really seamless, well, not seamless, but this really fits together and looks really nice from the side view and everything else. One thing I like about this SkyFire compared to some of the others is he looks exactly like he should look in the cartoon. So I'm going to fold that out, push that in. This little piece right here folds up and down and latches into that area right there. And now his head is really easy to pull out, and it goes up like that. What is hard is, and you can't really see it very good, but there's this little white piece right here. You got to pull that out. It lifts up, and it's hard to get at where it's at. And you have this little hook right here. Now, in order to transform this, you got to have this up, and it kind of sits there like this. And then you just kind of push that forward, because it really doesn't fit any other way to do it. So you have to kind of do that as a simultaneous transform. Anyway, and there is SkyFire, Phoenix, whatever you want to call him, Jetfire, and he is about 90% transformed. This next part is really, really simple. His arms accordion down, and you have to get these little triangular pieces out, and that is accurate to the cartoon, by the way. And then his hands, just, you pull this literally out like so, and his hands just rotate around. And then there's a little tab right here, and then that just slots to the bottom of his wrist. Same thing on this side, just pull it down. It's really easy to do this, and then flip his little piece around here, and then there you go. So again, quite a bit of articulation in his body and whatnot. Now, one thing I like about Phoenix compared to some of the other figures is his hands. Now, his hands, the only thing I don't love is his fingers are all the exact same length, which is, it's fine. It just, they look a little bit odd being all the same length. But one thing I do love about this particular figure is his hands literally bend just like a human being's fingers, right? You have the same joints in all spots, so you can literally have him pointing his finger like so. Or you can have him flipping the bird, which I'm not going to have him do, because we're going to try to keep this kid-friendly, but you could do that. Maybe I shouldn't have said that, but anyway. He's got the same little tab on his hands that the Masterpiece has. So when you're putting his weapon into his hand, all you have to do is tab it into place just like the other one. Now I want to show you really quick. His gun is pretty big. You can see how big it is to him anyway. And all you do, like I said before, is you just, these little tabs here on the side, you just put that into place. So I'm going to try to get his thumb a little bit better positioned. But it just literally wedges into there. And because I always have problems with his hands, there's my Verizo. So as you can see, he's not even holding it, but he can hold it because his hands. Now, when you're doing his weapon, if you want to do something a little bit more accurate, you're going to have to lift this up a little bit and just turn it to where if you tab it into his hand, now he's got his finger in the trigger well. And you just close that up and his hand around the weapon. And now SkyFire is holding his really large cannon weapon, whatever you want to call it. And that is really cool. Oh, I forgot to do one thing. No, I didn't. I did. I forgot to do one thing. So I'm going to have to pull this up. This comes up. I did. I messed it up. Okay. So you see this little part right here? I messed up because this has to fold down. So I'm going to have to lift this whole thing up again and just fold this around like so. Not hard, but I forgot to do it, and I apologize for that. So now I'm going to do this one more time so you can see it. Hopefully you can see it really well. So this part has to lift up and just kind of sits in that tab like that, and then you push them forward together, just like that. So there, now he's the way he's supposed to be, because I forgot to do that other part. So that's it, guys. That is the Ft-10 Phoenix from Fantoys. Now, he does not come with the Autobot logo. I stole that from Ratchet because he had one that I didn't need for Ratchet, and I put it on there because it fit perfectly. And this piece here comes off. So you might think, why does that come off? Because he has another one, and I showed you that in the instructions, that's blank. So you could either have it blank, you could put the Autobot symbol on it, you could put the Decepticon logo on it, whatever you want to do. It's entirely up to you. One thing I don't like about SkyFire is because he's all white, if your hands aren't clean, obviously there's going to be some staining in the plastic pores and whatnot, so just be aware of that. I haven't seen any yet, but I can tell you that if it, like with all my other white Transformer figures, that is the case. Now, the one thing that I want to show you guys really quick I love about SkyFire is his articulation. You can literally bend his arm up that far and get a lot more range of motion, or even with his weapon, you can fold it up and it makes him look like he's holding it up, because most of the Transformers don't have that range of motion. So I thought that was really, really cool. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to get Optimus Prime, and I'm going to show you Optimus Prime scaled with this particular figure. So give me a second. And okay, guys, and here he is next to the Masterpiece Transformers from Takara Tomy MP10 Optimus Prime, and you can see how much bigger he is than Optimus Prime. He's just absolutely massive. And the scale for the Transformers now is that they're all basing it off of this character right here, MP10. So when you see all the other characters, that's what they're basing it on. So just really quick, you can see how big, like if you were a human being, this is how big Optimus Prime would be to you. And then if you look at SkyFire or Phoenix here, just absolutely massive, massive. I think his head is as tall as Spike, or pretty close to it. So this is the Masterpiece, excuse me, the Fantoys version of SkyFire. I absolutely love it. I think it's amazing, the detail that they put in the figures. I hope you guys like this video. So again, part of my review is not so much about the figure itself, it's about why it's so awesome. Again, I remember being a kid watching Fire in the Sky from the season 1 of the Transformers, and the introduction of SkyFire and how massive he was. And he was massive, guys. I mean, he was he towered over the Decepticons, he towered over the Autobots. The Decepticons tried to use him as a weapon because of his size, but ultimately SkyFire was a scientist, not a executioner or whatever Megatron had intended for him. So it's really cool. Lots of articulation, lots of heavy ratchet joints. If you listen here, so I'll move Optimus out of the way. So his range of motion changes, but you can hear how heavy that ratchet joint is. Same thing on his knee. A lot of great detail in the figure itself. Little silver bits around. This is not a screw. It looks like a screw, but it's not. He does have screws into it, but you hide them a little bit. Just from the back even, he looks like SkyFire. I mean, I don't know how else to say that, but even I remember the cartoon when SkyFire's running away or about to transform or whatever he's going to do, this is exactly what he looked like. He had the jets on his feet just like this does. If you look here underneath his legs, you can see the silver detail that they've got to his legs here and whatnot. I mean, just lots of great detail. His lines that he has in here, just like in the original Transformers, it is there and everything else. So guys, this is Ft-10 Fanstoys-10 Phoenix, also known as SkyFire, aka Jetfire. And if you have the opportunity to pick this up, if you're a Transformers fan like me from the 80s and you have a chance to pick this figure up, I highly recommend him because he is so accurate to the cartoon in just about every single way. I'll bring MP10 back in here so you can see him with the scale of that figure. I mean, he's so tall when he holds his gun up, I cannot even show him to you. Guys, the screen background that you have behind you is over 2 feet tall, at least. He's over 15 inches. Just amazing, amazing. I think his wingspan is in the 20-inch range when you have him, when you look at his wingspan. But just amazing figure. And this is the last figure that I'm going to review before I do MP10 right here in front of you. And I'm really excited to do that. So, guys, such a great time to be alive. I mean, we did not have these detail accurate. What I've been doing in my videos, I've been showing you the comparison to the G1 toys and the updated versions. And as you can see, I had the G1 version of this toy, and I'll show you the out-of-the-box G1 toys from some pictures I found on the internet. But it really is amazing to see the likeness. I mean, right down even to his headpiece. If you guys remember in the Transformers, it showed them working on that headpiece, and it's got some translucent parts to that so you can see inside of it, and it looks exactly like his cartoon character. I was worried about his face and his helmet, his head area, I guess I should say, being accurate, because a lot of the other reproductions of SkyFire or Jetfire that I've seen, even the licensed ones, do not capture his head right. So I literally, and I'll put that up on screen, got a picture of his face when I was watching the cartoon and compared them, and he looks about as close to as accurate of a character as you can possibly get. So if in the review, are there things I don't like about the figure? Absolutely. There are a couple things. Most of it has to do with the white plastic more than anything else. But if you're asking me if you should pick this up, guys, I will tell you, these figures that I'm showing you, all of these Masterpiece figures, they are for high-end collectors. They are not cheap. You can't go to Toys R Us and buy a lot of these figures like the Fanstoys. You can't find those at Toys R Us. You might be able to find the Masterpiece Transformers like Optimus here, but even at Toys R Us, you're looking at $100 just for Optimus Prime right there. If you're buying Jetfire here, you're between $150 and $250. I think I got him for $210, which I thought was a really good deal. Even if you go to Big Bad Toy Store, that's the price that you're looking at in the range of. The more rare they are, or the more popular they are, the more expensive they are, obviously. So just keep in mind that these aren't necessarily anything that you buy for your kids. These are things that you buy for a collection. If you want to buy them for your kids, I'm not stopping you. But just understand how expensive they are. So if they end up breaking them, it's not easy just to go to the local store and replace them. I hope you guys get a sense of where I'm going with my childhood. like I said, I don't collect as many Transformers as I do other things, but I went to the Comic-Con and I just kind of went crazy on Transformers and added them to my collection, and I really am enjoying talking about them. So the next video we're going to do is the big man himself, MP-10 Optimus Prime from Takara Tomy. So stay tuned for that. If you like the content in this channel, please share and like it. Subscribe to my channel. I've been getting a couple of subscribes about every day now. I'm getting really excited. I hope that trend continues. But I really am enjoying this, guy. So either I get subscribers or I don't. I don't really care because I'm enjoying doing these videos either way. My wife and my kids are helping me do them as well. So I hope you like the content. Stay tuned for the next video, upcoming Optimus Prime. And you guys have a wonderful, wonderful day.